Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Crockett Show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone. I got my man in the building, Donovan Sadiq, the Queen, Demetra K, and I am the five-star general. I'm here. The circus done started and they done left a couple of their clowns in Minneapolis. It's the Chauvin trial. And man, what's going on with all these carjackings, man? We gonna talk about it, man. Y'all kick back. Let's go. Say, man, I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone and tell you thank you for tuning in. You know, without you guys, we wouldn't have a show. So we're very fortunate to have you tuning in. I'm gonna start it off with I got a hell of a week on my hand, bro. I'm in Minneapolis today. Tomorrow I'm in Houston. Wednesday and Thursday I'm in Austin, Texas, testifying about voter fraud. And then Friday I'm back in Minneapolis. So for all of y'all out there that think it's cool being 5-star and you getting all these frequent flyer miles, say, man, you welcome to step into my shoes any day of the week that you want to, because you can do some of this shit. What's going on, Donovan?
Hey, another Monday edition of the War Zone. Welcome to have you guys. And again, what makes this show different than any other show is we got the 5-star on the front lines. He's going to give it to you real. No other show is doing that. Everybody's looking armchair quarterbacking after the fact. Speaking of the Chauvin trial, a lot of keep saying it's the George Floyd trial. It is not the George Floyd trial. This is the Chauvin trial, the police officer that killed George Floyd. A lot of stuff's going on. I'm going to leave that to Gary to give the play-by-play on that. But President Joe Biden said, I will be standing by and hope that they, let the process play out. He stood by us to get him elected. We're going to stick by him. That's what the president had to say. A lot of butter biscuit eaters were out there caping the same old stuff that they always do. Give the process a chance, believe in the process, whatever. Hey, if you guys want to go ahead and do that, you go right ahead and do that. But we're going to get to the play-by-play. And again, thank you guys for the fundraiser. If you were there for our monthly fundraiser, we super duperly really appreciate it. But you do not have to wait for the monthly fundraiser or $2 Tuesdays. You can donate all the way up. Do what I do. Every week I donate. And by the time the election comes, I would be a very, very big shot caller when the 5-star gets on that school board, because I'm going to be one of his biggest donors. So thank you guys for tuning in. Demetra, what you got?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday night's edition of the War Zone. I hope you guys are all having a fabulous week so far. If you can do us a favor and please share this live so that everybody else can get the information and join in on the conversation, we would greatly appreciate it. As Gary said, he is going to give us, firsthand account of what's going on there in Minnesota with the Derek Chauvin case. And then after that, we're going to transition into another topic that's been trending behind some carjackings. And so you guys stay tuned with, please do share. Gary?
Yeah, my morning started pretty early. Downtown Minneapolis, the Hennepin County government building is where everybody needed to be. You got cameras from all around the world. You got cameras and reporters from all around the world at this trial, which to me probably is the trial of the century so far. It started off this morning with the suckers out there on their knees and all that. You got Al Sharpton and Ben Crump, and you know what I like about them? I got something in common with them today. Your ass couldn't go in the courtroom either. I like that. But the thing is slow boogie right now. You had a few protesters, but they got a little loose. They got in the middle of the street. They wouldn't let cars go down certain streets, and they meant what they said. If you tried to come down that street, they were finna show you. So it's only gonna get worse as the trial goes on. Opening arguments to me were very telling. the little bit that I was able to watch. And then, of course, on the other side of town, I keep telling y'all they strategic. Over there where they actually killed George at 38 in Chicago, they call it George Floyd Square. The property owners want their street back. Well, the organizers, community organizers say, you're not getting it back. This is finna be World War III over there. I can tell you that. So it's going to get more interesting as the days go by. The first day, but at the end of the day, I think this trial will last maybe 3 to 4 weeks. I just don't see him getting convicted, or it may end up in a hung jury. That's what I'm thinking. If I'm a bet man, that's what I would bet on. Is not what I would want. I want him convicted. And if that happens, they're going to burn this motherfucker down. That's just what they said. That's verbatim. They're going to burn this motherfucker down. And I think that may put the jury in a spot where the judge may feel that they're in violation of due process, because they have to make an impartial decision. But if something is forcing them to say that this man is guilty, which would be the possibility of, a riot, then I see it going to a hung jury. That's your update for the day.
So let me ask you this, in regards to the trial, do you think, in your personal opinion, and you've seen the trial, like I said, and you have, some personal issues with it, but looking as a future lawyer coming down the pipe, do you feel that, the Chauvin, who the person that's on trial, do you think that he was within the scope of his duties in what he did?
No, not at all. For me, you can use the fact that George may have been a little combative because he was nervous, his anxiety, but then you hit a spot where George was not being combative. He was not resisting. So even if you put your knee on his neck, there came a time, maybe about a minute after he initially did it, where you could have taken your knee off of his neck. You see what I'm saying? But the knee on the neck, here's the problem that a lot of people not realizing. The knee on the neck is not a violation of those police policies and procedures in Minneapolis. This is something they were trained to do. So in all actuality, he was doing what he was trained to do. Now, we agree that it's not right. But that's where your job scope, you hit that gray area. You see what I'm saying? He was trained to do that. What did you expect him to do?
And then a quick follow-up to that, I did some research as I was watching the trial today. And in most police procedures, once a suspect is in handcuffs, and I got this information from Sergeant Dorsey. She's a 20-something, 30-year sergeant here in the LAPD. She's retired, wrote a book, Black and Blue, and she's kind of exposing a lot of stuff that's going on in the LAPD. You guys might have seen her. She's on CNN, and she talks, as a police person. And she said at the point of a suspect being put in handcuffs, there is no further need, as per the training, he's already suspended. There's no further need to do any kind of things to a person. In
actuality, once you put the cuffs on and you do anything to that person, you're in violation of Penal Code 1264. Cruel and unusual punishment that is injurious to a suspect or an inmate's health. If he's handcuffed, he's defenseless. There's nothing technically that he can do. If you have 4 officers there, there's multiple ways that you can subdue that person. We've seen it done on camera in other instances. So there's no excuse. And that's where the battle is going to be, the gray area with him being within his job scope, and then you looking at the fact that this man was handcuffed. And nobody's beating the drum that the $20 bill now mysteriously turned up to be real. There's still no video from inside of the store. But remember, I told y'all after coming here, he never went in the store. He never went in there. So it's gonna be interesting. That's all I can say. We in the middle of it, and I don't know the judge's name by heart, but he looking like Lance Ito up there to me.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I don't know if people saw the courtroom. It is barricaded like Fort Knox. I mean, the access to it. I mean, they are anticipating. And usually, as Black folks and people of color, we know that when they put up the barricades and stuff, it's just obvious that a predetermined thing is going to come out. And they're, because you can't tell me they didn't anticipate. If they couldn't anticipate the insurrectors in DC, you can't tell me they're anticipating a decision that might not be in the cause of justice.
I mean, let me say this, man, because the new black media is gonna say it when Roland Martin doesn't say it, when ABC, NBC, CBS does not say it. I don't give a damn what they put up. They can't handle them when they get loose. Them people would not come out there and do nothing to them people this morning that was in that street. Because they already knew. If you go mess with them, here come 400 more. And they strategic in how they deal with it. Unity, no matter how it may come. When you're unified and you got a bunch of soldiers, it's more of us than it is of law enforcement. So it's no way that they can handle them. I don't care what nobody tell me. They can't handle them. They out there telling them, if you don't convict them, we gonna burn this motherfucker down. Ain't nothing they can do.
So there's a couple things. From what I understand, I didn't watch it, but from what I read, they said the prosecution opened very strongly. They had a lot of facts and science and things like that. But I guess the defense is trying to say that George was responsible for his own death by being high on drugs, including methamphetamines and a couple of other things. Now, there's two autopsy reports. The first one came out from the city, the coroner, basically saying that, George Floyd died of what was in his system, and him being detained with the drugs in the system kind of, I guess, heightened his system, and that's why he died. And then the second one, the family got, and it said that it was a homicide. And so it is said that the jury is going to have to decide which autopsy report that they believe. Now, also, I think it was a first responder. She was on the stand, and she says that she was, I guess, I don't know if it was her phone. I'm not really clear on that, but whatever device she was looking at, she thought that the phone or the device had frozen.
Yeah, the video.
The video had frozen because Derek Chauvin was just, kneeling on George's neck for so long. And then she ended up calling the police as well. And they actually said that it wasn't 8 minutes and it wasn't 46 seconds. It was actually 9 minutes and 29 seconds as to how long Derek actually knelt on his neck. And they said 5 of that, if I'm not mistaken, was when George was unconscious. But the game changer is supposed to be, I don't know how much of a game changer it will be, but they're saying that some police officers and some higher ups in the police department are going to testify against Derek Chauvin. So that's new. We don't know, but history shows us and tells us that police officers often get off for murdering Black people. One of the most infamous cases is that of Rodney King. The first time they got off, the second time they didn't, because LA went crazy, and so they came back with the right decision the second time around. But common sense would tell us, you would just hope that the tape or the camera phone or whatever is evidence enough, that you murdered a man in cold blood, you lynched this man, you and your fellow officers. This, to me, it's an open and shut case. But all they have to do is really throw in, well, I don't know what the standard of evidence is in this sense, is not murder one. But, they've got to convince all the jurors that, Derek Chauvin acted in a manner to which cost him his life. And I think that that's why the defense is throwing in, the drugs, because there's that possibility. Well, but experts are saying, Well, even if he was high and he was doing drugs, he was walking around fine until he encountered Derek Chauvin and the other police officers. And so that's what the prosecution will have to argue, that he was fine up until then. But like I said, we know history. We want to be like this, but we won't be too surprised if they come back with, like you said, a hung jury or a not guilty. So
yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I got an officer that's watching us right now, a good friend of mine, Willie Denby. And I would ask Mr. Denby a question. At any time that something is going on, can a victim become an aggressor? Can a victim become an aggressor? So if George was the aggressor, when did Chauvin turn into the aggressor? If George had fentanyl in his system, he had it in there. As long as he had it in there, he must have had it in there when y'all say he passed the fake $20 bill. He had it in there when you had him against the wall. He had it in there when you handcuffed him, you were fighting to get him in the car. But the fentanyl didn't stop him from breathing throughout all of that. The thing that stopped him from breathing was his knee on his neck with handcuffs on, for officers that are poorly trained. So, from my knowledge, you had to have been, if 4 officers couldn't take one guy that had handcuffs on. You had a taser. You see what I'm saying? You even had your billy clubs. We'd have took that before we took murder. There is no justification for what they did to him. And it is what it is. Raymond Crook asked, I would like to see the fake $20 bill that they keep talking about. The money was not fake. It will come up in the trial. It was not fake. So therefore, this never had to happen.
Right, exactly. And they showed a clip of the $20 bill. One of them was ripped, another one was full. So you can see that probably in the evidence. But here's another thing I think that's really good for the prosecution. One of the people that you hear on the tape, it wasn't just the fact that you saw the tape. You heard the people directing the police officers to get off this man's neck and, hey, he can't breathe. He stopped moving. I mean, they're telling the police officers all of this. And a police officer's job is to serve the public. And they should have heeded what the people were saying. But one of the people that was there, he was a security guard. He was an MMA fighter. So he was familiar with the knee on the neck and what it would do. And he was telling the officer, hey, he's not breathing. Okay, he's out. Get up off of him. I think that is going to be telling those people that were actually there filming it and kind of being held that day, when they become witnesses, I think that is going to be a very telling thing for the prosecution, because you have people that were actually on the scene other than the cops who, have their side, but you have actual citizens that were saying that this man's in distress. This man's in distress. And they still did not do anything to render aid, which is what they were supposed to do according to their training.
Well, I hope that the prosecution brings up the history of the Minneapolis Police Department as it pertains to the brutality and the murders that they've committed over the last 10 years. You will see, if they bring it up, that this is not foreign. This is not something that's not familiar. This is what they do in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is what they do in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They wrongfully kill people and they get away with it. They've been getting away with it. You see what I'm saying? So, I think we got to brace for, it's going to be, if it's a hung jury or if it's an acquittal, this is not going to go good. This is what I'm telling you. I'm here. I'm with the natives. I talk to them. They are not relenting. And you know what? I always tell people, whether they right or wrong, if you believe in something and you stand up for it, I'm going to rock with you. They standing up for what they believe in. They not letting it go. It ain't going to go like that.
So quick follow-up. We know what could happen if it doesn't happen, but let's speak for us as a people, 5 Star. What do you think after they tear up Minneapolis, if it doesn't go the way that people think they're going to do, as Black people, what are we going to do? We're just going to go on to the next justification. Our Black leaders aren't speaking out. Nobody's saying it. We're just going to go to the next one.
Let's be honest with it. We ain't going to do a goddamn thing. I'm being straight up with you. Right now, I'm from Houston, right? I'm in Minneapolis. Everybody that was down with George, when everything was popping, where all these people at right now? I give Crump and my man Al Sharpton credit. They here. Where the rest of you motherfuckers at? Because it just happens to us and we move on, and so be it. There's a way to stop all of this, but I don't see us doing anything. I don't see the politicians just standing on 10 toes today across the country, saying what they need to say. They are too busy worried about lining their pockets. So I don't think anything will come from it. I think we go back to business as usual, and the business is killing Negroes.
I was actually just looking to see what the actual standard of proof is, and it is beyond a reasonable doubt from what I can see. Let's see. I'm just looking really quick. Yeah, so he has to prove, says, all the charges against Chauvin require the prosecution to prove the former police officer's culpability beyond a reasonable doubt. All right, so, if you know a little bit about how, the court system works, the prosecution and the defense's job is just to prove that there is some doubt. That's their job. And the jury's job is to say, well, did they present some reasonable doubt? And if they present, the first autopsy that the coroner came up with and say, hey, he died because of the drugs, that could be reasonable doubt. So and whatever else they found during that autopsy, I know it's not pretty, but that's the standard of proof.
I think one of the biggest questions is would he have died if he didn't have drugs in his system?
Well, I think the obvious question, but see, to us, it's pretty open and shut, right? Well, damn, we saw him kneel on his neck for over 9 minutes, as they're saying. Clearly, he snuffed the life out of him as he continued to say. They say he said 27 times that he could not breathe. I think after somebody saying 27 times I can't breathe would be enough, for you to say, okay, well, maybe I'm killing him, right? But they have to, the defense, because it's the prosecution, it's their burden of proof. They have the burden of proof to prove that Derek Chauvin acted in the manner of which he's charged. All the defense has to do is just throw in a little bit of reasonable doubt, which it could be the autopsy and, well, it was because of the drugs, because we've heard that play out before in the Eric Garner case and a few other cases. With Eric Garner, when they put him in a chokehold, they said it's because he had an enlarged heart. So, again, I know it's, from what we see, it's murder. But all they got to do is plant a reasonable doubt and, hang up at least one of those jurors before they either hang the trial or they all come back and say, well, we couldn't say for sure that was, Chauvin's intentions.
If I was the attorney, I'd throw it out there, even if they objected, even if they threw the question out. If this is not murder, why did you settle this case civilly? Why did you change the policy? That's just stuff that I would ask. But everything you just said is right on point. But like I say, we've been here before. We've been here before. Los Angeles, California, beat the shit out of Rodney King. We saw it on tape. He let the motherfucker walk. And I think, honestly, and I don't care what nobody say, they've been trying to get us back since they let OJ go in every way they can get us. Any case they can get us in, they're going to get us for OJ.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, and Five Star, you're on your way to being a lawyer and everything like that. And I guess one of the first things, I took law in college. one of the first things they told us as what you lawyers do is, you're supposed to argue the facts, but when you can't argue the facts, you just destroy the person's credibility, or you muddy them up and destroy their credibility. You just do a distraction. So if you ain't got the facts, you just distract everybody and just destroy that person's character. And again, like I said, if this doesn't go the way that we think it's going to go, even after Minneapolis is tore up, I'm not trying to be skeptical and I'm not trying to give up, but we say this on the show all the time, and all the other platforms, they all say it. We just go from one tragedy to the next and to the next, and we keep electing people who don't do a goddamn thing about it. They don't say nothing about it. They're not on code with us. But these are the very people that keep talking about a housing bill. They call it reparations. They do everything they can do not to do anything for us, but let somebody bump into an Asian. Oh my God, it's national news, and we are on the front lines fighting for this, folks. So, I'm just going to tell everybody else, when you guys get tired from going to tragedy, you guys let me know.
I want to read Tanai Smith's comment. We have to stop using their narrative on drugs is BS. The defense is blaming the crowd, traffic noise, etc. The video is telling. Ma'am, let me explain something to you tonight. I'm choosing to be an attorney. I'm looking at everything from a diplomatic point of view. Now, there are questions that you could ask. Even you could ask them. If there was crowd noise, how could you hear the crowd and tell them to back up? If the noise was too loud. And when you look at the video, where is the crowd? How do you define a crowd? What's your definition of a crowd? 4 people? 5 people? Because there was no crowd. If you got a good prosecutor in this case, you can hammer it home. But if you got one that's not asking the right questions, this is going to get ugly real fast. And as Donovan told you earlier, they ain't put up all that barbed wire because they just friendly with their bank accounts. We kind of know how this is going to go. We told you about Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, it's going to, the thing is, you don't know until they render the verdict. Plain and simple, but, juries have surprised us many times. I remember the Trayvon Martin case, and I just knew, when I say I knew for sure that he was going to come back guilty. I knew it. And as I heard them say not guilty, it was just so surreal. And then I just screamed like, are you kidding me? I think my neighbors was probably like, oh, they probably knew what was going on, but I was blown away. Like, are you kidding me? And so, as I said, history has shown us time and time and time again that this justice system is the injustice system for us. And of course, they have the area all sealed off, and they're going to be on tactical alert because they know people are not going to just say, well, you win some, you lose some. They know people are like, you know what? F it. F it.
Let me tell these people something. You want this system to convict that man when this system was designed to protect that man. This system was not, we were slaves when this was designed. This wasn't designed for us. Nowhere in it. When police forces were created, they were not designed for us. You want a system to work for us that works against us every single day. You can't have it both ways. And the thing is you got Noel Pinnock, who's out there, doing his thing, and we trying to get you see it scrolling at the bottom, get the white supremacists off the police force. What does it take for you people to go down to Austin, Texas, and stand in front of one of these committees that's fighting for these law changes? The only way we can beat the system, we got to change the laws. They were not written for us, but we never get our asses down there to do what we're supposed to do. I don't like voter fraud. Am I correct, Donovan? I done talked about it forever. Am I right, Donovan? Where the hell I'm gonna be Thursday? At the Austin State Capitol talking about voter fraud because I'm not faking with this. I need these laws changed. So if you want to act like it's voter suppression, call it what you want. But you better have your motherfucking ID when you get to the voting poll.
Exactly. And look at what the Asians are doing. They ain't taking it no more. They're saying, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna scapegoat the black folks because we still got to deal with our white master there. We want to be just like him, but they have the money and they're out there saying, you know what? We're doing it. They're showing up. They're going to their representatives saying, you don't do and give us a bill, we are not going to financially support you, and we're going to go do something else. But we sit here with our black representatives, got a shitty neighborhood. We love the ghetto. I don't know why everybody glorifies the ghetto term. I don't know why we do that, but go ahead.
Showing you my two fingers. I come right after you about these two fingers.
Right. We glorify the ghetto term, but yet we have the nerve to complain and holler about, oh, I come from the ghetto and the hood and all this other stuff, trash, crime, all this other stuff going on in our community. But we don't hold the very people that we elect accountable to that. And we keep voting them in. And then 30 years later, they keep telling us the same shit. Be patient. Oh, I'm working on that. Who was just in front of on a corner with a bunch of Asians right here in California? Maxine Waters. She was out there caping for the Asians. When was the last time you saw Maxine Waters standing in front of a black issue? Never.
Demetri, put your two fingers up. You live in the state of Texas, right? Turn them around like that. You live in the state of Texas. Fuck your ID after Thursday, because you're going to have to go biometrics to vote in the state of Texas. They finna fuck the game up. Y'all want to play with the early ballots and all that bullshit? They finna get your fingerprint now, partner. Some people ain't to be fucked with. That's what I'm going to tell you. You're going to have to get them fingerprints now to get the motherfucking voter registration cards. Demetri.
Tanaya, and how you doing, by the way, says exactly. That's why the defense was on some BS today. I'm staying positive on this one. Unfortunately, on Chauvin case, there was no video, but they had tape from the 911 call. They had the 911 call where it was clear that George Zimmerman was stalking Trayvon, and he was told to stand down, go home, leave him alone a copious amount of times, and he did not do that. So it was clear that he was in hot pursuit of Trayvon, and he murdered him. So there was evidence, right? So, and a lot of people got caught up on, well, for sure, there's the 911 call and this, that, and the other. For sure, he's going to go down for the count, and he didn't. And George Zimmerman is, walking scot-free, as we speak, almost 10 years after it happened. But we're going to see what's going to happen there. Hope tells us that he will be found guilty, but wisdom and history tells us there's a big chance that he won't. So,
well, real quick, Demetri, let me ask you this, Demetri. Didn't Chauvin agree to a plea deal until Bill Barr came in and canceled it? So even he knew he was in some hot shit. I'm not, like I said, I'm with you. We know, the history is going to possibly say something different, but he was willing to do a plea deal until the federal attorney general got involved.
Well, and we also know, too, that a plea deal doesn't mean that you're guilty and just saying, hey, you know what? I don't want to go to trial and get, more years. I'm going to settle for what you offer me. So it's not a guilty plea and it's not a not guilty plea. It's just, okay, I'll take the offer type of thing. But let's go ahead. So we're going to continue this tomorrow, and we're going to actually open the show, if that's okay with Gary and Donovan, every day until this trial is over with, the new findings in the case. But we want to transition to a case that happened actually, I think it was last Tuesday. You guys may or may not have heard of it. It's in Washington, D.C. There was two girls, one 13 and 15. They decided to go on a carjacking spree where they carjacked a man by the name of Mohammed Anwar, where he was an Uber Eats driver, and he was actually in the middle of a delivery when one of the girls happened upon him with a stun gun, if you will. They wanted to commandeer his car. Now, Mr. Anwar was 66 years old, newly here from 2014 from Pakistan, I think it was, trying to make a living for his family, and he refused to give up his car. And the girl jumped in the car, and he was kind of in the car too. She sped off with Mr. Anwar in the car, and the video is very graphic. I don't suggest you watch it. As she sped off, the doors open, and she hits something along the way, and the door closes on Mr. Anwar. She turns the corner. You can't see it, but just to hear the screeching and the metal of the car. Once they, and this was all on video because people saw the commotion, and so they started to record. And then once they saw the car, it had flipped over. Now, before it flipped over, it crushed Mr. Anwar and then threw him, and he, was pronounced dead. But I should say this 13 and 15-year-old who we do not know their names, they belong to our community. They are little Black girls. And they said one of them actually was in trouble from January. She was carjacking then. So I don't know why she was out or what the deal was, but they said in the DC area, carjackings have gone up. Oh gosh, they said it was 95 carjackings, rather. So it has gone up from 2020 to 2021, about 341%, 95 carjackings. And they said 25 of those are juveniles. And so we need to have that discussion as to why. I don't know if there's a why. I can kind of maybe guess the pandemic may have something to do with it, in that people's kids are roaming free and they're unsupervised. I don't want to give all the answers because I don't know all the answers, but we need to figure out why this is being done and what needs to happen, because, a man who was taking care of his family is no longer here. But I should say they started a GoFundMe. They were only wanting to raise $5,000, and they're nearly at $1 million raised for his family.
I can tell you why it's happening. As unjust as the criminal justice system is too motherfucking lenient on these youngsters. They don't believe that they're going to get in trouble, which they don't. They take them downtown, or they take them to the school police office. Mama come pick them up. They right back in the motherfucking streets again. No accountability. I'm sorry, but the laws need to change for these youngsters, man. Because, to get out here, you carjacking a car and you 13 years old. How the fuck you think that's gonna go? What you think gonna happen with that? You see what I'm saying? But it's because the system is too lenient on juveniles. Y'all know how it was back in the day. Say, man, take that dope case for your big homie over there, because they ain't gonna do nothing to you. And then they wipe their records clean. When they turn 18, they let them go. And they just, it creates a life of crime. It just starts them on the track for a life of crime. I just think the system is too goddamn lenient on them.
Totally agree. And in my time in the military, we would find young people that come in there and they felt they didn't have to follow any rules. They're always questioning you. And you're like, well, where are you at here? This is the military. You're going to do it because I said so. And it gives them a false idea of, what they can do and what they can't do. I had a young man, he wasn't paying his $75 child support a month. We got word of it, came down from the colonel to me. I told that MFer, give me your keys to your car. And this fool had the nerve to try to challenge me, and took his car, had the car sit there for over a month, and had him walk to and from work as we garnished his wages. That's what I'm saying. It gives them no responsibility. They figure that they're not accountable to anything. And, and I don't know if we went through it in our generation. I think we were more realists, but the more you give your children, the less they will strive for. They don't feel they're accountable.
Well, when you're young and you're going through that type of shit, the system is set up, it's too lenient, but it's set up to get you in the long run. Let me explain it to you. You get enough shit going on when they juvenile, they gonna run straight into their adulthood with that silly shit. And then once they run into the adulthood, that's why you see so many of them so young being thrown away by the system on a first or a second offense. That first offense as an adult, they may give probation. The second one, they throw the motherfucking book out. You see what I'm saying? So I think it has a lot to do with also the motherfucking parents not raising them right, man. You're not raising these motherfuckers right. And then they do all this shit and then they come back to your house. You ain't finna live here with that bullshit. I don't know where you gonna go, but you ain't finna live here with it. But I didn't have to worry about that because I raised mine from the day they came out the womb. So, you can't start being a parent at 14, 15 years old with your kids.
Exactly. I put a lot of onus on the Black men in the community. I help raise my nephews and nieces, me and my brother being in the military. So, I'm stationed here. My brother is stationed somewhere else. And, his son is over here. Whenever the son's mom has a problem and she calls me, I make sure I go over there and I have a little conversation with the little Thundercat, and let him know, what's going to go on and what's happening. Too many times, especially in our community with our brothers, we figure, well, that's my brother's kid, or that's my sister's kid. I don't want to get involved. You need to get involved because eventually, the way these laws are going, when they start putting those ankle bracelets and they get rid of all the prisons and stuff, you're gonna have to take care of that little comrade in your house. Now he's in there for real playing PlayStation because he can't go nowhere legally. We got to intervene as soon as we can as men and kind of say, this is what's going to go down and this is what's not going to go down. Too many of us, I don't want the response. I don't want to deal with it. You need to say something, even if you got to get on the phone and say something. I think that's where a lot of our kids are losing it because, and like I said, you got some great dads out there. I was one, 5-star was one. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there that would listen to this show were good fathers. But, you need to be a good uncle, too. You need to be a good, whatever the situation is, because these kids need a reality check.
Leonard Peel say he's an attorney. I work on death penalty cases in Texas for juveniles. There are thousands of these cases. And it's probably 10,000 cases where these motherfuckers done got away with bloody murder. I done sat in juvenile court. I done seen these motherfuckers let these youngsters up out of there, man. And I'm trying to figure out how the fuck did they let him out of the man. The man just committed aggravated assault. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But we got something's not right. There's a disconnect. And the thing is, Ira Sanders say, how you gonna raise them when they only 14? It's too much fucking going on at a young age. That shit cute. It's cute. Also, Ira made another great comment. The lean and the wet baby is now grown. He goddamn right. We went through the crack baby phase, and now we dealing with the lean and the wet babies. You see what I'm saying? And them lean and wet babies on some real gangster shit. So we need to get some mental health people around here ASAP. See if we can. You don't have to build a school next week in Houston. Build a mental health facility. Get these youngsters some help, man.
Well, they need some help when you've got these young mothers that are coming out of high school would rather go make the quick money and have a OnlyFans and do all that craziness and go be in the strip club, and they get influenced by these Cardi B's and stuff. And I'm not mad at Cardi B for getting her hustle, but not everybody's going to be a Cardi B or a Nicki Minaj. But what is it with our women to where they think the easy route is the better route to go? In the long run, we know that it just leads to chaos and confusion.
Chosen Child say, growing up, I'm over 50. We had many to help raise and rear and discipline us. This day and time, parents, even family members, don't want to say anything to their kids because they scared of them. They scared their kid gonna put their foot in their ass. And if that's the case, stop fucking and having them. Because we tired dealing with them out here.
Yeah, my son used to say, I'm going to call CPS. I used to tell him all the time, you go right on ahead because by the time they get here, you'll be dead.
So the other part of the case, too, is there's some debate because it is said that after the girls did the carjacking, an accident happened. And so people are like, was it an accident if you purposely jacked this man's vehicle and then sped off with him in the car, you know, hanging on to the car? Because it said, you know, as he was trying to tell him no, not to take the car, whoever was in the car, she was jerking the wheel away from him, and then she slammed it in the gear, and you can hear it takes off. And you guys, I told you what happened. And so people are debating, and a lot of people are mad and saying this is not an accident. This was premeditated. And one of the girls had already been in trouble for carjacking. They said not one time, but a few times. And to your point, Gary, she's out. You know, here it is March, and this happened in January. She's out and she's doing it again. And so the question here is, was it an accident? You know, because they're charged with murder, felony murder, the both of them. Now, I think in DC, there is no life sentences for juveniles. So I don't know how much time they'll do, you know, not their whole life. But I mean, can you really say that was an accident when the man told you over and over and over again, no, you ain't taking my car?
Why would it be an accident when it happened during the commission of a felony? That's the question I'm gonna ask, and I'm gonna ask y'all. Let's talk about it. Should there be life imprisonment for juveniles?
I say, I'm going to say no, simply because of this. Now, I know that juveniles commit very heinous crimes, and I'll tell y'all a story. A long time ago, I worked in a prison, nothing official. I was there, you know, took a side job as the cleaning person, and I was feeling sorry for him. I was actually at a CYA, which is California Youth
Authority. Youth Authority.
Mm-hmm. So this is where, and my stepfather actually worked there for many years, but this is where some of the most hardened criminals were. I'm talking about, you name it, they did it. And so I was speaking to some of the nurses there, and I was like, oh wow, I feel sorry for these kids. You know, some of them are going to the big house for the rest of their lives. And she says, don't feel sorry for them. She says, we got all kind of people in here. And she told me about the case of a guy. He was 21. He was getting ready to go to the big house, but he's scared. He's crying. He doesn't want to go. She says, but he should have thought of that when he raped and murdered a 3-year-old. And so that's why I say it's kind of hard for me to say no, that they shouldn't go for the rest of their lives, because I think when you're young, I don't think you do the same things or you have the same mind frame when you're older. And I think there's a possibility for a child that does something wrong, such as a murder or something like that. I think there's room for redemption. I just kind of find it hard pressed to throw them away for the rest of their lives, because people do change, especially when you're a child. You don't think the same way you do when you're older. You have some experience and some time to kind of organize your thoughts a little bit, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree. I don't believe any child is like a throwaway. They shouldn't get a chance to parole. I mean, you know, you want to put them in there for 40 years? Sure, put them in there for 40 years straight. But I think they should have an opportunity to get out, because they do grow. I referenced the movie with Sean Penn, and Sean Penn should have got an Oscar for this movie. It's called Bad Boys, the original Bad Boy movie. And it was about, you know, young juveniles getting in trouble and doing all this and stuff. And in the movie, even though he was, you know, did a robbery and, you know, he got caught and people got killed, all kinds of shit went down. He's in the thing, but while he was in there, he started maturing and growing up, and he looked back on his life and was like, man, because there was that one counselor that was telling him, you want to come to the big house? This is where you're headed. This is it. You know, this is what's happening. And then he ended up maturing because he still had beef with another guy. You guys go check that movie out. That's a prime example of, you know, juveniles in a prison situation. I know it's kind of a dated movie, but it's still a excellent movie. But I don't believe kids should be in there forever. If you give them 60 years, give them 60, but they should have somewhere along the line an opportunity to get out.
I'm reading Leonard Peel's comment. I worked on a Supreme Court case as a litigation specialist. We won the argument banning life without parole for juveniles. I think the death penalty should be off the table. But if you're going to commit a grown-up goddamn offense, you need to do grown-up time. That's just how I feel about it. The crimes are becoming too heinous. They're too frequent. And a lot of people don't want to send these kids to jail forever until the shit happens to their families. That's when it like, let's take the gloves off. No. You didn't want to do that. I think it's really pariahs is really a tough call. I mean, it could go both ways, but the things that I've seen some of these youngsters do, cutting motherfuckers' heads off and all that shit. No, you need to go sit your ass up in there forever. Forever, ever, forever, ever.
It's funny that you say that, because I just found out a member in my family, a young kid, 17 years old, something went down. I don't know the whole logistics of it, but my mom was telling me about it. Shot this man 17 or something times, just shot him up on some kind of robbery or something they were doing. And, I'm extremely older than my first cousins and stuff. I'm the age of their parents. I was raised with my uncles and aunts. We're in the same age category. And so I don't really know this cousin at all. But when I heard that story, I was like, why, somebody who's rational, why would you need to kill or shoot somebody up 17 times if they're already dead and all in the face? So I'm still waiting for that case to come out. Now, this is a family member of mine. He's headed to, what's that prison down there? Angola. I think that's where they're going to throw him, in Louisiana, in Angola, if he gets convicted. But yeah, he's a juvenile, but he did an adult crime. He's innocent until proven guilty, but we know how that's going to go.
So, like I said again, and tonight it says send them to jail. You have to be held accountable for your actions. They actually killed a man. I think that's what you mean. No, I agree. I think they absolutely should be held accountable. I just think, for how long should they be held accountable? You guys remember the case of Centoya Brown, the young lady that killed her John, if you will, she was a minor, when he paid to have sex with her, and she murdered him and took his belongings and all of that. She was actually sentenced to life, but they recently let her out a couple of years back, saying that was kind of cruel and unusual. So that's where the argument is. Is it cruel and unusual to lock a child away for the rest of their life? Now, this is what I would not be against, okay? So I should say it this way. I would be for the parents doing some of that time, especially if you have a child and your child is, been out there. Like, let's say, for instance, with this girl who did the carjacking with her friend. She's had a couple of carjackings under her belt already. Why she's out and about, I don't know. But I think to some degree, I mean, you have two girls, 13 and 15, they're just roaming the streets. You don't know where they are. And they do something like that. I wouldn't have a problem with the parents doing some of that time. I mean, if we're saying that the kid needs to be locked away for the rest of their life, split it up. Let the parent do some of the time and let the child do some of the time if somebody absolutely has to pay. But I get it, and Lord God forbid something ever happened to one of my loved ones by somebody, a juvenile, maybe I'll change my mind. But for right now, I just don't think we should be throwing away children. And I know some of them are little Michael Myers. I'm not saying they're not, but it's hard for me to say affirmatively that we should throw them away for the rest of their lives.
Well, I tell you what, they seem to remember when to become a child. They become kids when they in the courtroom. They become kids when they downtown in the jailhouse. But the way some of these motherfuckers talk to their parents, the way some of these motherfuckers talk to these teachers, the way they handle people in the community on some grown-up shit. And then once they get down there, we gotta have this sympathy for them. I done been to too many funerals, man. And some of these people that's dead, it's not justifiable.
Well, I'm not saying sympathy. I'm not saying we should sympathize with them. I'm saying maybe we should try to apply some sort of logic. I don't know if maybe logic is the wrong word, but logic.
But the system doesn't rehabilitate them.
Well, okay, so that needs to be fixed as well. But I'm not even saying they should get in there for 5 years, or they should do some time. I'm not saying they shouldn't do some time, but to throw them away for the rest of their life. But sympathy, no, definitely not any sympathy. But I think maybe some reasoning behind it, maybe.
That'll be a tough situation where parents would go to jail for the kids, because there's some parents out there that are just really good parents and their kids are fucked off.
You know what, though? I'm going to say this, Gary, and maybe we'll disagree here. I hear that argument a lot. Oh, well, I did everything I can. And yes. Some people are raising Damians out there. Some people got Chuckies and the Reagans from The Exorcist. Some people just have the Jason Voorhees.
Oh, old dogs.
All of this. It's some. But I don't think I don't think that's an anomaly. I think it's more so that a lot of parents know what their kids are up to, or maybe they don't know what they're up to. But if your child is unsupervised at 13 and 15, you don't have it. Like, if I can call you and I say, hey, where's Susie? Child, I ain't seen her since this morning. That's a problem. So a lot of these parents do have the ability to get their kids in line, but they choose not to. But I guarantee you one thing: if parents knew they was going to be doing that time with their kids, they'd have their asses in check.
Let me play devil's advocate. So you're basically advocating the Kamala Harris truancy law.
No, that's not what I'm advocating. I'm advocating because truancy is not the equivalency of murder. They're not even on the same street. We're talking about children who are going, because ain't nobody going to jail for the rest of their life behind being truant. But we're talking about children who are out there murdering and doing heinous crimes. And the question is, should they go to jail for the rest of their life? And if we're saying no, and you have a parent that child, is continuously in trouble or unsupervised, I think if you would tie something like that to it to hold the parent accountable, then there would be a lot less people or kids out there doing stuff because their parents have no idea what they're doing.
Right. I'm not disagreeing with you or anything like that, but what I'm saying is that's the same premise that Kamala Harris had in the truancy law. She was holding the parents accountable. So if the mother's at work and the kid's leaving school, why is she, going to be held accountable to that?
Well, for one, the truancy, parents are always held accountable for truancy, maybe not to the tune of prison. And in some cases they are. They'll get a citation or something like that. So it's not rare that a parent is held accountable for their child. The operative word is child under the age of 18. So the parent is responsible for them. They should be responsible for them in truancy and in murder. But we're not going to equate truancy to murder. Those are two different things.
No. Wait.
No. Let me finish. Because in Kamala's case, she sent a lot of parents to jail and she didn't know their situation. Like when Cherie Peoples was on here, her child had sickle cell anemia. The school knew about it, but Kamala Harris was so busy trying to get a photo op to where they didn't cross wires and figure out why the child was truant. And so Cherie Peoples went to jail unjustly. So you're comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, no. I wanted you to address the parent aspect of it. What I'm saying is that component of it. Murder and truancy are two different things. It's the parent aspect to what you were saying. That's what I'm trying to compare.
The operative word is parent. You are the parent to a child, and if you are parent to a child, that is usually indicative that the child is under 18. So you are responsible for that child. That's like if I had a child under 18 and she goes out and she wrecks my car and she kills somebody, I'm uninsured. You think they're going after my daughter who's a minor, or are they going after me because I'm her parent? So that's why I'm saying you should tie, especially to the children that you got a problem child and you're refusing to do something about it. Like your Ray Rays and your Pookies and your Boom Quishas and all of them, where the mama and them know their kids is out there acting up, but what you want me to do. What I want you to do is act like their parent and get them under subjection. That's what you do.
Yeah, I mean, how are you in 7th grade and it's 11 o'clock at night and you don't know where your child is? It's 11 o'clock.
Ask you a question. These two girls, if you were the judge, what would you sentence them to?
I would at least sentence them until they're 30. I think that's a good 15 to 18 years. I think at the age of 30, I mean, you've missed, all of your 20s. Some of you teens, yeah, I would say, till at least 30. That's just for me.
Yeah, I would say for me, I would give them at least 30 years minimum before they even see parole. I want them to miss everything, and I don't want them to be able to procreate and miss those procreation years.
Well, I would sentence them 25 to life. After 25 years, you come up for parole. Whether you get it or you deny it, that's up to the parole board. I didn't give you life. I gave you 25 to life. Because a lot of these people are not remorseful even when they come up for parole the first time. And as I'm studying, I'm learning some things in this law thing. And the recidivism rate for somebody that does not understand accountability, they don't even give them 6 months before they come back to jail. The numbers say they come back in less than 6 months. And a kid, the way that this system is set up right now, it's set up to fail them horribly.
Well, yeah, because like when you think about it, you sentence them as a child, and depending on what they're doing in prison or not doing in prison, I know a lot of the prisons have done away with being able to get college degrees and all of that. So you figure you go in there as a child, and then you come out as an adult into your 30s and your 40s. Hell, I did a story of a man who was at the age of 83 went in when he was 15 for something he didn't do. And they wanted him to continue on with a life of parole. And he was like, no, I'd rather just stay up in here. So you have somebody who was sentenced as a child. They come out as an adult. What can they do? What do they know how to do? Are they going to come out and have somebody take care of them or, help them get on their feet? And so, of course, the recidivism rate is high because they go out there and do more things. And when I was taking a criminal justice course, the lady who was teaching it was a parole officer, and she asked the class, she said, gave us a scenario. She says, okay, we have somebody who came out of prison, did a lot of years, and he has, I think, 3 to 7 days to report to you, but he doesn't report because he doesn't have a phone. And what do? Do you violate him? Most of the people in the class were in law enforcement. They're like, yeah, we violate him because he didn't follow the rules and this, that, and the other. And she asked me, I said, no, you don't violate him. I said, because you don't know what the situation was. He's been in prison almost his whole life. He gets out. Does he have money to make a phone call? Does he have access to a phone? I mean, like, what's the situation? And she says, you're right. She says, when you violate somebody off of parole, you have to violate them for a year, at minimum a year. And she said, those beds are for violent offenders, but yet people go back for a whole host of reasons. And, I think when somebody is a child and they come out as an adult, yeah, they're going to go back because they don't have any skills to survive with.
Faye Bill's on another page. She say, give them 30 years in a rehab prison. Can you name me a rehab prison? What is it?
Well, they could always come to California and work on our fire brigade.
Yeah, but when you parole now in California, you can actually go get a job as a firefighter. So they're training them in now for when they get out. I mean, but a lot of them cats go up in there and end up back on the yard like Kunta Kinte and cut off half their motherfucking foot. Because the training they got to go to, I researched it, the training that they go through is 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, and 2 laps around the track in 6 minutes. For real. Yeah, but you could do that. I mean, I don't know of too many prisons that rehab anybody. Yeah, I mean, you don't understand. When you go in there, that's gladiator school. The only 2 days that count is the day you go in and the day you get out. That's it. And I think if youngsters knew that, if we had them real conversations, when you ain't got nothing to do with your young kid, take their ass downtown to that courtroom. Take them down there on sentencing day. And let them see these motherfuckers getting life. And you want to keep doing the shit you're doing, you're going to be right down here with them.
5 Star, you hit that on the nail. I took my sons when they were old enough, kind of, sort of. I took them and sat them down in family court and let them see what that child support system is doing to these young dudes. And they were just jaw dropping. And knock on wood, I don't have any grandkids as of yet. But the point is, I think that a lot of people should do that. Take these young men to these courts to see what the system does, especially when you don't have the resources to get a lawyer.
And I see here too, let's see, Sky, how you doing? It says parents shouldn't have to do time because some are doing their best to raise their kids. Yes, some are, but there's a lot of them that are just not. Let's keep it real. I mean, you could drive down any street at any given time of day and see kids just hanging out. And the first thing I wonder is, where is their mamas? Why are these kids just hanging out? You know, like who's watching them? And I'm talking about, you know, teenagers, younger kids, just a whole host of, you know, age groups are just hanging out unsupervised. I mean, I remember when I was a child, I had to, you know, let my mom know where I was. And, you know, you couldn't be gone for a long period of time. You had to, remember, you guys had to check in. Hey, mom, I'm okay. We're just outside. You know, you couldn't just be gone for hours and hours and hours at a time. But per my other example, if your minor child runs into somebody's property or destroys something, they're going to come after you. They're not going to go after the child. So why shouldn't we have the same standard of care or, you know, the remedy, if you will, with a parent who has children that do heinous crimes, especially when you should have been supervising your children, perhaps? Why can't we have the same thing tied to it?
I spent a copious amount of time at the boys club and the youth center. And when I was going through, the boy club had their own club, the girls had their own club. But because of finances and taxes that we don't pay into the community, even that's not even surviving anymore. And it went nonprofit. And we need to get back to stuff like that, because having a boys and girls club, you employ teenage youths to even mentor those kids. And it's like almost a free childcare. You know where your child is at all times, and they teach them stuff there. So, yeah, you know, it's rough.
You know, it's okay if we, you know, we want to send them to the Boys and Girls Club, but they cool going to jail. I mean, some of them trying to go to the Boys and Girls Club. Some of these motherfuckers trying to go to jail, man. Some of these motherfuckers just, they old dogs. It's a bunch of old dogs running around here, man. And some of these motherfuckers are not rehabilitatable. I'm sorry. It's what it is. You cannot start trying to raise your kid at 16, 17 years old. And now the world has to deal with them.
But how is an old dog created?
Absentee parent.
I mean, I'm just asking, how are these old? I know some of these old dogs. You guys ever see the movie The Bad Seed? You know, like Freddy Krueger, he was the bastard of 1,000 men. I mean, I get that, but just ordinarily speaking, how is an old dog created?
Well, then Al says some kids show the parents a totally different person. Watch the movie Orphan and The Good Son. That's another movie where the kid is like, "Oh no, I love my little brother," and you know you guys know what was that movie? What was it? House Party or something? We had Full Force in there, and they're the bullies. But then when it came to Grandma, they were just like, "Oh no, Grandma, we're good." So that's a good point too. You got some people that are just two-sided, you know.
I still just don't. I know, like I said, I get it. There's a few little bad seeds out there, maybe quite a bit of bad seeds, but most of the time, because you know, Gary, you probably have more knowledge of this than I do, because you know you're studying law and you've seen a lot of, you know, documentaries and stuff dealing with the prison system and all of that. And what is one of the number one things prisoners say about their home life? They'll say, "Oh, well, my mom wasn't home, or my daddy wasn't around, or I didn't have a great upbringing." A lot of them say that. Am I lying?
No, you're not lying. But a lot of them be lying. A lot of them come from good homes. I mean, it's what it is. A lot of them actually, let me tell you why I know this, and you tell me if I'm wrong. Ira lives in the suburbs. Al is on the outskirts of town. You feel what I'm saying? The people take their ghetto-fied ass kids out the hood. They move them to the suburbs. You automatically think they're going to change. No. They still hood is all I know. You just finna turn the subdivision into the trap house. That's what they finna do. And the thing is, it doesn't matter what you do with them. They're going to be who they are. A kid hits an age where they start smelling themselves. If you ain't ready to bust them in their mouth right then, they're going to bust you in your mouth in about 2 years. When that starts happening, your old dogs they're slowly being created from babies. But when they get the nuts to go up against their parents and they can win that battle, your old dog is fully created. All they missing now is a pistol. So the kids in the suburbs, a lot of them come from good two parent. A lot. You got single moms in the suburbs. A lot of suburban homes, you got two parents. How the fuck these kids end up like this? Because they just who they are.
Right. Well, remember in the 90s, early 90s, you had the white kid. NAA wasn't a problem until the white kids started emulating and listening to that stuff, and then all of a sudden it's a problem. Oh my God, they're listening to this music. Oh, and then now you see it right now. You have kids that are, like you said, are from the suburbs, but they want to emulate inner city life, even though they know nothing about it. As square as I am, I have relatives that I tell them I'm more gangster than you will ever be. And the reason I say that is because these kids don't know what it is to open a refrigerator and there ain't no food in there. They don't know what it is to eat government cheese. They don't know what it is to walk to school or and all the rules that we had growing up. Even though my mother could have, she didn't, to make me a better person, right? And strive. You got these kids dressing, sagging their pants. They got the tattoos and they look all hard. But when it comes down to it, they couldn't bust a grape. And it's just so sad. I always tell them, I said, if you saw a real gangster, if they ever saw a real gangster, and I have some of my family, they would shit on themselves. They would just shit on themselves. I'm seeing these kids with the hearts on their face, knowing they haven't killed nobody.
Let me tell you, man. You mentioned NWA. Music influencing a lot of these kids nowadays. But NWA was totally different than what the fuck these dudes talking about now. The shit that they doing. NWA was lacing you to the game of what the fuck them people was doing to us. And they cuss like. You feel what I'm? These motherfuckers talking about knocking your gizzle out nowadays. They talking about raping your daughter. Lil Nas X. You lap dancing for the devil? And y'all telling me this shit don't influence these kids? Watch somebody come up with a challenge. And they gonna be having somebody dressed like the devil dancing for them. Everything, they so easily influenced. Kids are like sponges. They suck up all this shit. You see what I'm saying? Rick Ross is not Ice Cube from back in the day. You see what I'm saying? The Kodak Black, you done got out of jail. You clowning again, motherfucker. Lil Boosie, you walking around slapping the shit out of people, huh?
I was just about to say that. Like,
you see what I'm saying?
Like, why? Why?
Luther Campbell and 2 Live wanted you to fuck something. They wasn't talking about killing nobody. Everything come out these dudes' mouths nowadays. They want to kill. You come up with a video for some mother, and I don't think nobody should complain about it. If you ain't complaining about them 2 half-naked African-American women with they wop, you shouldn't be complaining about this little baby dancing for the devil.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think they're all very toxic, but I was just thinking about that. Lil Boosie paid a homeless man over $500 to slap him for a video. I didn't see the video. My daughter told me about it. Said he slapped him so hard that he, came up off the ground. Yeah. And Instagram took down his page. He has over 9 million followers and they banned his page. And I think they should ban all of his pages. And I think somebody should go see about him. You paying a homeless? What the homeless dude gonna say no?
I don't think they should ban his page, because you look at all the shit that they allow to be on. All the pussy you want to see on Instagram, all the fights, all that bullshit. So no, I don't think they should ban his page. But I will say this to him. Nigga, you need to get your mind right, dog. You're in a position where a whole bunch of niggas listening to you. I'm not telling you to go Common. I'm not telling you to go Nas. But I am telling you to be responsible. with what the fuck you putting out there, because these youngsters doing what you doing. Now, we're going to have a slap challenge again. Remember, they were running around slapping the fuck out of people. I wish a motherfucker would.
Yeah, what was that, the knockout game when they run it up and just not cold cocking people? Sad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just disagree. I think they should take his page down. You know, that was a homeless dude. You know, some of the most vulnerable people in society, you pay him so you can abuse them. Really? It's like, I don't know. I just.
But here's my thing. And they could take it down. I wouldn't have a problem with it. Here's my thing. That's the respect that the youngsters have for our seniors.
I totally agree with you. And it's sad. It's horribly sad. And it's like for him to think that somebody would get off. And there's a lot of people who probably thought it was funny that you slapped the bejesus out of this man who is homeless, and you tell him I'm gonna give you almost $600. What was he gonna say? Nah, I'm good. You know.
Let me tell you something about these punk ass rappers. That's what the man called them, punk ass rappers. Y'all do a whole lot of shit when you got 6 big motherfuckers providing you security. I bet you wouldn't do half the shit you did if you didn't have that security with you. I bet you wouldn't do it, motherfucker. And that was disgraceful. I didn't like it. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a Boosie fan anyway. I don't like his music. I don't like the things that he do. You know, every time you got to have a conversation with us, whether it's through Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, you got to be high. No, I don't need to have these conversations with you, big homie. You know what I'm saying? And that's why till this day, the old school rappers ain't got no respect for them bitches. Because you disrespecting the craft, nigga.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on out there in the world, you guys. But at the end of the day, yeah, we need to figure out what to do, because it's really going, down the pipes really quick for us as Black people. And now we got our youngsters, and admittedly, there's other kids out there doing it, but our youngsters are out there. And when I read the story of the 15 and the 13-year-old girls, not boys, but girls, they out there like Bonnie and Bonnie.
Well, Demetria, the fastest demographic of people going into prison are Black girls, women. That's the fastest demographic now. They're targeting our women.
Yeah.
They might be targeting them, but go to a local school and see how young Black girls act. They fight more than them boys. This shit is out of control, man.
I saw a video. I don't know we're going to get out here. I saw a video on, oh gosh, I can't remember who posted it. Maybe it was Tariq Nasheed.
Nasheed. It was Tariq Nasheed. Yeah, you sent it to me yesterday.
Oh, yeah. It was about 30. I'm not going to call them women or ladies. I don't know what you call them, but they were in the middle of the street, wherever this street was, pulling each other's wigs off, clothes off, fighting. And the men were just standing around. Now, I don't know necessarily what they could have done, but they were filming and they were laughing as these at least 30 women were beating the crap out of each other. Just the dog doo-doo out of each other clothes and wigs everywhere.
Yeah, it was a mass stripper fight. I researched the video. It happened about 2 years ago or something like that, but it was a mass stripper fight.
Where it's like, what are we doing? Well, what are we actually doing as a people? Like, what is going on? Should we just ask for the mothership to suck us up now? I mean, what are we doing here?
We're not listening. We don't want to listen to us. We will listen to everybody else except us. Everybody else goes to fix Black people except Black people. That's the biggest problem I see. Final thoughts, Donovan.
Well, if things keep going the way they're going, Demetria, I've been researching the African country of Angola. That's where I'll be headed. But no, you guys continue to tune in. We're going to be giving you updates in regards to the Darren Chauvin case. It is not the George Floyd case. It's the Darren Chauvin case. He is the one that's on trial, not George Floyd. And again, tune in tomorrow. We are having $2 Tuesdays. So if you want to donate to the campaign, please do so, because I don't know about you guys. I am going to do everything I can to elect a candidate that gives a damn about my children, period.
Final thoughts, Ms. Dimitri.
And Tanaya, yes, I did get your money. I'm going to send some to Gary. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, I mean, we're going to stay tuned to the Derek Chauvin case and keep you guys abreast of what's going on every day. And I know it's none of you guys out there, but we need to, start being better parents. I will say that. I know there's some parents who feel like, oh, I'm already doing a good job. Well, if you got a child that's wayward and not listening to you, employ somebody else to help you. Whether it's a pastor, it's somebody that can get a hold of them, because I've always said this, we're going to have to take this generation by force. Now, I'm not necessarily saying violence, but we got to be more certain than them that the buck stops with us. You will not be out there wilding and doing any and everything, not on our watch. And so we need to come up with a plan.
I've been saying for the longest that we need to be better parents. We need to be better neighbors. We need to be better church members. We need to be better at everything. And we were required to be 3 times better than everybody else when you were raised by our generation. And I think we've lost focus on that, and we need to get back to doing it. You feel what I'm saying? I'm in Minneapolis tomorrow. I'll be in Houston. I'm at the state capitol in Austin Thursday, and then I fly back out to Minneapolis. I'm gonna ride this train, the dude I do down here, and hopefully it doesn't get to where it got last time. Say, man, I want to thank you. We the best in the business. New black media. It's the war zone, baby. I want to thank my good friend, Donovan Sadiq, the Queen, Dimitri K. And I am the 5-star general. Until tomorrow.